So this is my Meccano Enigma machine. It's based on the Enigma 1, and it was used by the German military in World War II to send their secret messages. So they would code their messages, they'd write their message down, they'd type in the message, and the lights on the lamp board would light up for each key. So as I push a letter, it lights a letter on the lamp board, and you'll notice it does a different letter each time, and that's because the rotor on the side here is moving, and the rotors contain wires inside. Now these rotors can come out, and that slides across, and they can lift out, and they can be swapped around and put back in again, and that would give it a different permutation for scrambling the message. Each rotor has got 26 contacts on one side and 26 on the other, and they're connected but using a random, or according to a wiring table inside. There's also a latching bolt that allows me to unlock this locking ring, and I can spin it around and lock it to a different position. That's important because there's a turnover notch, and that tells the Enigma at what point should it move the rotor alongside it. So the right hand rotor moves on its own, but when it gets to the turnover position, which is at this point now, it's going to move the middle rotor, but now the middle rotor has moved into its turnover position, so the following key press will move all three at the same time, and now just back to moving the right rotor on its own. As we push the keys, there are ratchet arms at the back with notch sensors, which you can see little axles at the top of the arm, and on each push they're riding along the outside of the alphabet ring, but now you'll see that the leftmost one will now enter the notch, which allows the angle bracket to push against the bolt and the middle rotor, so it advances that middle rotor. And now, because the middle rotor is now advanced into its notch position, the axle moves into its notch, and it's going to do two things. It's going to move the notch on the left of the machine, which is actually your right, which is the slow rotor, and it's going to move the middle rotor at the same time by pushing it. So all three rotors move at the same time, and then it just reverts back to moving the fast rotor, which is always moves on every single key press. Now we can set the position of these rotors as well. So I've got a message I sent earlier. If I set the position of these rotors to 02, 17 and 23, and just 02, 17, 23, it's in the window, and we type in the code on the bottom, we should get the text coming out the top. So we start off with a K, that comes out with an S, an N, K, the M comes out with the E, the H is a G, the V is the N, X is an E, the G is an S, and then the J is the other S. So Skegness, which is where we are. So that's the way the messages were coded. It's a reciprocal thing, so if I were to wind the rotors back and type in Skegness, that's how we got the message in the first place. So if you have two Enigma machines side by side, or one in a remote location, you could send the coded message across and they can decode it, as long as the machine was set up with the same rotors in the same positions with the same starting position in the window. Below each key there's a single pole double throw switch, and the original machine had big leaf spring switches which were placed below the keyboard, but mine, I've made them integral next to each switch. So if I push a letter, there's a spring, and the spring gets pushed down to make contact at the bottom of the switch. So the bottom contacts are all providing power, and the top of the contact is providing a route back to the lamp board. So we have an input-output, and the centre spring is going to the entry wheel that completes the circuit through the rotors. So by pushing a letter, X, we get power fed in through the spring, out to the rotors, back to the reflector, and back through the rotors, back through the entry wheel, and then it comes in at the coded letter, which in this case is an E, and it will go to the top contact on that E spring. And you'll notice also at the bottom below the key there's a rubber cap, and that's pushing on like a plate, like a seesaw, and that operates the ratchet mechanism at the back of the rotors to advance the rotor by one position on every key press, which is what gives us a different output for every letter. That's it.